All right, hey everybody, this is the anti-aging webinar with functional medicine and regenerative nutrition. I am Dr. Ryan Sousley, chiropractor, functional medicine practitioner. I'm here with Cece McClintick, certified nutrition therapy practitioner. We are super excited to share this information with you this morning. And for the sake of time, we are just going to jump right into it today. The reason why this is an important topic is because the current state of health in America is not good. And I know that you guys know this, but we are not living the lives that we were created for. In fact, if you just look at statistics, 4 out of 5 people die from heart disease or cancer in the United States today, even though, research shows that those are almost completely preventable. 1 out of 3 people is diagnosed with type 2 diabetes. 65% of us are overweight or obese. Brain disorders like Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, dementia, those things are on the rise and getting more prevalent every single year. 1 out of 4 kids is now on medication by the time they hit high school, and typically it's a medication they don't ever come off of. We spend more money on healthcare than any other country on the planet. We take more drugs, and yet we still rank 37th in the world when it comes to health. And this is really where the rubber meets the road. For the 3rd year in a row, our life expectancy has gone backwards, which is just crazy to me with all the technology and medical breakthroughs that we have. So the way that I look at it is, our bodies are designed to last a certain amount of time. And a lot of people say, well, yeah, but 80 or 90, that's old. That's the current lifespan in America is 78, 79. And that's a pretty good lifespan. But the reality is that studies show that our bodies are designed to last around 110 to 120 years. And a lot of people will say, well, yeah, I don't even want to live that long. And I wouldn't either if you're living that long in America, because in America, you think of nursing homes, drugs, doctors, surgeries, someone wiping your rear end, and forgetting your name. That's really not how we're created to live. And there are lots of people around the world that are not living that way. In fact, this is, some research that was done by a guy named Dan Buttner, who wrote a book called The Blue Zones. And he looked at these 5 cultures from around the world that had a really high number of centenarians, which are, people that live to 100 and beyond. And he basically looked at all the commonalities, so what are these people doing so differently than the rest of the world in terms of their nutrition and their mindset and their relationships and their fitness and all the things that we do for lifestyle. And so we're going to unpack that today. So that's what I'm really excited about, is because obviously, some of these cultures like Costa Rica, Sardinia, Italy, Okinawa, Japan, we can't necessarily transplant their lifestyle into our busy lifestyle in America, but there are some things that we can take and learn and try to apply, to our busy lifestyle in a relevant way. So we are going to go through this, and our mission today is to help you feel younger than your age, which is not typical if you ask most people, without wasting your time and money. And that's the thing. There's tons of stuff out there. You could spend lifetime, learning and reading and buying things, and really, that's what we're going to teach from today is a life of experiences and doing the wrong things and, doing things that work for patients over the course of the last decade or so. And we just want to honor you by giving us your time today. So if you stick around to the end, we're going to give you a free download of this detox recipe guide. This is something that Cece, you, and my wife, Dr. Erin, put together last year. And it's just chock full of great resources for people that are looking to get healthy. So I am Dr. Ryan Stiles. Like I said, I'm a functional medicine practitioner, chiropractor. My wife and I, Dr. Erin, we host a podcast together called Win Your Health. I'm also in clinical practice still. I've been in practice for 10 years. I've seen thousands of patients, everything from pro athletes to brand new babies and people in their 90s or 100 and everything in between. And then I also do a lot of speaking, so I get to speak all around the country at different health and wellness seminars. But really this right here, this is my favorite thing. Doing these webinars, doing these educational events is my favorite thing with people like you, Cece, because, this is where we get to expand our minds and really, strengthen our resolve and our character when it comes to taking responsibility for your health. So I'm excited to have you on this morning because you're extremely knowledgeable too. In fact, I would say the area of anti-aging, nutrition, hormone balance, gut health, detoxification, that's really your sweet spot. I know that you have a ton of credentials behind you, which is awesome. You're a nutrition therapy practitioner, restorative wellness practitioner, holistic mineral balancing program, and like I said, your specialty is really digestive health and adrenal health. So, Cece, welcome to the webinar.
Thank you so much. I'm so excited to be here. Yeah, thank you for sharing my credentials, Dr. Ryan. I do have a family. I don't have pictures up there, but I have a family. I have 3 kids from the ages of 17 and under, and a wonderful husband and a little puppy. And I'm super excited to be sharing all about aging with you all today. So let's dive in. What is aging? So everyone ages. It's a fact of life, right? We pretty much all know what it means to age, but to successfully tackle a problem such as aging, we first need to understand the science behind it and kind of come up with a good definition of what it is. So there's 3 different ways I feel like you can view what aging is. The first one are those obvious signs. You know, we at some point in our life start to develop wrinkles. We may have that decreased elasticity of our skin, or some of us may start to have graying hairs. Some of these things can be changed through things such as cosmetic surgery, but it doesn't really change the underlying physiology. Second way to view age is when we get to the point where we have loss of function. So that's when our organs or different processes in the bodies, these functions start to change or diminish. So it could be things like brain fog or memory loss, even a really slow, non-functioning metabolism. And then the third view on aging is when we get to the level where we're aging at a cellular or a molecular level. And this is really when we start to develop diseases and illness. So every year you have a birthday, right? I'm about to turn 46 in a couple of months, and that is what is defined as my chronological age. I wish I could go backwards with that age, but I can't. And then there's your biological age. And so this is the age that your cells really are. The difference between the two is that with your chronological age, it's irreversible, but your biological age is not. So your biological age may vary just depending on your lifestyle habits and your genetics. So it can be lower or it can be higher. So that's exciting news. That means that aging does not just have to mean, you know, wrinkles, fat, feeling tired all the time, having that brain fog or that attitude of, well, I'm getting older and this is just all totally normal, because it's not. So I'm just super excited to share with you that, you know, biological age is the age of our cells. It can totally be reversed. You just need to learn how to take care of your cells. And that's what we're going to be sharing with you today.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Just because it's common doesn't make it normal. You know, people look around and they see people with heart disease or cancer or diabetes or even Alzheimer's is on the rise. And, you know, the biggest mistake that people make is just to think, well, everybody has that because they get old, and that's just what happens when you get older. And the reality is that's not what's supposed to happen, and it doesn't have to happen. But in order for that to be the case for you, you've got to take matters into your own hands, and you've got to learn and become educated and become equipped. And then you have to take action, obviously. And so that's what we're going to talk about today is learning and equipping yourself, but then also what to do to take action. And the really cool thing is, you know, a lot of what we're going to talk about today has to do with the science of epigenetics. You know, epigenetics is the study of beyond your genes or above your genes. And it's this relatively new field of study where they've found that, you know, your genes aren't your destiny. You know, you can turn your genes off and on depending on your lifestyle choices. Genes are like the gun, but your lifestyle choices, the environment you put your body into, that's what pulls the trigger. You know, so just because you have the gene for breast cancer doesn't mean you get breast cancer, because there's thousands of women who have the gene that never get breast cancer. Just because you have the gene for heart disease doesn't mean you're going to get heart disease or high cholesterol or cancer. Just because it runs in your family or your mom or dad had it does not mean you have to have it as well. But, you know, that's good news, bad news. The good news is that that you can change things. You know, you can make different lifestyle choices and absolutely change things. The bad news is you have to change things. You have to actually do something about it. You can't just sit back and take a pill or have, you know, a procedure done. You have to actually do something about it. And the good news is, you know, if you do, you know, success leaves clues. And if we just follow these principles, you know, we can guarantee you're going to have success. In fact, this is Sandy. She's, you know, a client of ours. And it's just by following the principles that you're going to learn today, you know, she was able to lose 30 pounds. And it's not just about weight loss, but obviously you don't live a long, healthy, happy life if you're incredibly overweight, you know, and your metabolism is really terrible and your hormone balance is off. And by following these principles, she lost over 30 pounds. She has clear skin. She actually reversed her type 2 diabetes. So she got off of a medication for that, a medication for cholesterol, and she has no more joint pain. So now she feels a lot younger now than she did, 5 years before. And it was just by applying these things. So before we get into the science of some of this stuff, I just want to make people aware that you should be able to see a button off to the side of the screen here that says offers or offer. And I just want to let you know up front that we are offering the opportunity to have a special organics test done to look at your nutrition. It looks at 7 different categories of health. It looks at 46 different biomarkers relative to metabolism, vitamin deficiencies, oxidative stress, inflammation, toxicity. It's about the most robust and the deepest test that we could find and that we offer in our clinic for people that are really looking to take their health to the next level. So, maybe you're watching this today and you have some kind of health issue that you just haven't been able to get to the bottom of, or maybe you already eat healthy, you already do organic, you exercise, you take supplements, and you just feel like you're stuck in a rut. This might be the thing to help uncover those differences to help you go to the next level. So normally the test is about $400. For people that are watching the webinar, we have a limit of 10 that are available that we've set aside. And the test is just $317 just for people watching the webinar. So all you have to do if you're interested in taking advantage of that, click the button or click the offer. It's going to take you to a different page. It's not going to kick you out of the webinar so you can continue listening, but it'll take you to a different page. You'll click on the offer. You'll schedule a time because Cece's, I know you're going to get on the phone or through video chat, and you're going to meet with people and educate them on how to actually do the test. And the really cool thing about this is, you can do the test from anywhere. With the technology that we have set up, we can drop ship you a test, whether you live in Coeur, Idaho, where we are, or you could live in the Florida Keys, lucky you. But we can send this test to wherever you're at, and then Cece's going to get on the phone with you and educate you and teach you how to do the test from home. And then about a week later, once we get the results, Cece's also going to sit down with you either virtually or in person if you're local and go over the test results, and she's going to go through all of the markers, what they mean, how they're affecting your body, go over the results, and then also let you know what you can do about it. She's going to give you a customized plan. So once again, we're going to get into the science and the information here, but if you're interested in taking advantage of that offer, it's just for the people that are on the webinar. We have 10 available. Just click the link. It'll take you over to the purchase page. All right, let's get into the 3 hidden causes of accelerated aging. What is number 1?
Okay, the first one is oxidative stress. So you can go onto Google right now and you can literally click in and research on oxidative stress and aging, and you're going to get like 66 million different results on there. So there are so many people that are trying to figure out what oxidative stress is and how it relates to aging. So oxidative stress, it occurs when there's an imbalance between the production of free radicals and the body's ability to counteract their effects or damaging effects with antioxidants. So when antioxidant levels in your body are lower than those of free radicals, and those could be things, those could be from factors such as like poor nutrition, lots of incoming toxins, really overloading your immune system. This is when aging starts to occur, and it starts to occur rapidly. So a good way to really think about how oxidative stress works in our cells is to think about what happens. Cut open an apple and leave it on your counter. So this picture right here on this slide shows what happens. So once you cut that apple open, you're pretty much like injuring it. And so oxygen is introduced into that inside of the apple, and it starts to brown. And it's the same thing for our cells. So they brown too, essentially, right? So what happens when you put a little bit of lemon juice on that apple and on the inside of that apple? It starts to take away the browning, or it helps to reduce the browning once you cut it open. And that's the same thing that happens to our cells. That lemon juice, it's an antioxidant. So those antioxidants are going to fight those free radicals and really help to neutralize them. So free radicals, they can be super harmful. but they're not like totally abnormal in our bodies, and they're not even that bad necessarily. They do contribute to aging and the process of aging, but they're also super important to our immune system. So our bodies produce free radicals on their own, and it's just through like these cellular reactions or these metabolic reactions. So even things just like eating food and breathing and exercise are creating free radicals. So it's this balance. That's what we really have to look at and understand is the balance that we have in our cells of antioxidants to these free radicals. And so here's an interesting fact for you. At the age of 30, your body's ability to like produce and hang on to antioxidants decreases, and that's really when accelerated aging starts to kick in.
Yeah, and I can attest to that because I'm 38, and a few years ago, I wouldn't say I noticed right away when I was 30 because I've always kept myself in pretty good shape and I've been an athlete, but I noticed that over the past few years, my body just didn't recover quite as fast when I would work out or even after just a long day at the office where I'm working with patients all day. And what I realized is that I really needed to do something extra. I needed to supplement with something that would help me, bring that oxidative stress level down and get those free radicals under control. And so I can tell you just personal story that, when I started doing that, my energy levels went up probably 15 to 20% instantly. And then also I would recover, like I wouldn't get nearly as sore after working out and I wouldn't feel tired the next day just by getting this under control. But really, I didn't know that until I tested myself. So again, that's the value of doing testing is my diet was impeccable. It has been for over a decade, but I really didn't know that was a missing factor until I had myself tested.
Yeah, and I'm super excited. I'm just going to add in here that organics testing that we're offering, it has specific markers for oxidative damage in your body and antioxidants. So it's just like a no given to do this test to see where you're truly at and how your body's functioning.
Yep. Well, let's talk about inflammation. Inflammation is one of those things that everyone's heard of. But studies actually show that inflammation is at the root cause of almost every degenerative illness that we know of, things like heart disease, cancer, type 2 diabetes, anything that is age related, so to speak. We know that inflammation is a part of that. And obviously inflammation is a big part of chronic pain too. So if you're a person that suffers from chronic back pain or chronic neck pain or joint pain, like in your hands or your elbows or your knees or your hips, that's a sign that there's inflammation there. And so inflammation's, again, it's one of those things like oxidative stress and free radicals. It's not a bad thing, but too much of a good thing is a bad thing. And unfortunately, the average person has chronically elevated levels of inflammation. And so not only does inflammation lead to chronic disease and chronic pain, but inflammation also causes you to age faster.
Yep, absolutely. And I love this term in aging because it really is just taking how inflammation leads to accelerated aging and puts it in kind of a catchy little term. So you hit the nail right on the head, Dr. Ryan, and inflammation is a natural process. Again, it's just when it gets to that point where it's silent and it's slow, it becomes really harmful. So there's two ways to look at it. You have your acute inflammation, which is where you do something like cut your finger and it happens quickly. It lasts for just a few days and your body is able to really improve and heal. But then there's that chronic inflammation that it's just harmful pathogens inside our bodies. Our bodies aren't able to break them down. It really wreaks havoc on our systems. It happens really slowly. It can last for months and years, and it eventually leads to tissue death and disease and illness. So some of the common signs of inflammation are just what you said, body pains, even just chronic fatigue or insomnia, mood issues, so like depression, anxiety, mood disorders, issues with your gut health, weight gain, rapid weight loss, frequent infections. And again, these are things that we can test for. So again, with that organics testing, there's specific biomarkers that really look at things such as like gut dysbiosis, looking at your neurotransmitters for the depression, anxiety, and mood. We can really look at your energy cycle. So there's all these ways that we can identify what's going on with your body in regards to inflammation.
Yeah, totally. And this is another example of a patient who we've had the opportunity to work with. And she, again, just by following the principles that we talked about today, she's doing great. This is Helen. And since becoming a patient, she's lost 25 pounds. She has better metabolism, reduced inflammation, not to mention all the pain related stuff that she was dealing with. That's almost completely gone. She had really, really bad back pain and sciatic pain, sharpshooting, stabbing pain down her leg, and all that stuff is pretty much gone altogether. But again, it's not just about pain relief or losing, getting rid of your pain. It's about becoming healthy and slowing the aging process down. Not to defy aging, because we're all going to age, we're all going to die at some point. But it's really more about living the life that you're created for. And so to me, even though this is totally contrary to what the average person experiences in America, to me, this isn't a miracle. This isn't an outlier situation. This is just Helen going back to operating and living a life that she was created for from the very beginning. She got back to normal is really what this is. It's not, something above or beyond that. I always tell people, I can't give you any more health than you already have, but it's your job to remove the interference and, find out what's challenging that health, what's robbing you of the health that you already have inside your body. Again, the studies show that you're designed to last 110 to 120 years. That's already inside you. Your DNA, your cells, your wiring is already set up to last 110 to 120 years. The only reason why you don't is because you interfere with it. You cause some kind of damage, most of the time unintentionally, and it causes things to wear out faster, and it robs you of life, typically at the end of your life. So, if Helen can do it, you can too. But it really, really helps to have that extra little bit of information. So here's the thing, all the stuff that we're talking about today, you should start applying. You can start applying. And for most of the people watching this, that's what you're going to do. And you're going to start to see results. But I also know that there's a percentage of people that you're already doing a lot of the stuff that we're talking about. I mean, that's how I was, that's how my wife, Erin, was, and our kids. And yet we choose to test every single year just because you don't know, you can't measure what you don't manage, or you can't manage what you don't measure. And, we were able to uncover some really interesting things about ourselves, that even though our diets are impeccable, we eat super clean, we exercise all the time, drink clean water, have filters, supplement, all the right things, everybody's a little bit different. So the value of this testing is just being able to uncover that last layer or that last 20% that makes us all, wonderfully unique. So let's move on to aging and autophagy. And I saw someone asked a question about how do I get access to the testing in the webinar. If you're watching this through a phone or your desktop computer, there should be a little button over on the side that says offers. And then if you click that little word or button, it'll open up a little box that says purchase here. And you're actually not purchasing it right here, so don't worry. If you just want to take a look at the offer, just click that purchase button. It'll take you to a separate landing page so you can read more about it. You can read about the 46 different biomarkers for inflammation, oxidative stress, vitamin deficiencies, toxicities, inflammation. You can read about all the things that the test looks for, and you can decide, if you want to take advantage of that from that point on. So hitting the purchase button here does not mean you're actually, paying money right this minute. But to let you know, we do only have 10 that are available, and it's just because we have a limited number at this point in time. And so if you're interested in that, just click the link. You'll be taken to a scheduling page so that Cece has the opportunity to either get on the phone or have a video call with you, or even meet with you in person, kind of walk you through how to do the test, because that's the beauty of the test. Is this test we can have drop shipped literally to anywhere in the world, and then we can do all the coaching through the test results and what we're recommending from the results. We can do it all virtually. So in a time where a lot of people are still having to be at home, this is amazing opportunity. So for today only, for people watching the webinar, instead of the $397 that it normally is, we're charging just $317. So it's a 20% discount. We don't typically do that, but we just want to give you guys the opportunity to have the testing that I believe is necessary. I believe that it's just as important as having your annual physical at your medical doctor's office, although I would even say that this is more important because this is going upstream. Medical tests typically only tell you you're sick after you're sick, like a cancer screening or a mammogram or, screening for high cholesterol or blood pressure. Those things really only tell you you're sick after you're sick. They don't catch things, biomarkers that are indicators or precursors months or years beforehand, like this test does. So
Mhm.
anyway, you can tell that I'm excited about it, and something I do for my family every single year. But let's talk about autophagy, because autophagy is probably not a term that a lot of people have heard of. And when you talk about how autophagy is really your cells eating themselves, people's initial thought is, oh, that doesn't sound good. But
Right.
what is autophagy and why is it good for us?
Oh, this is definitely your body's most powerful anti-aging tool that you have. So it's your body's housekeeping function. It's a cellular activity, and it's designed to expel toxins, repair damage, and then really truly preserve life. So your skin, your weight, your longevity, all rely on this process of autophagy to happen. So as you said, it means self-eating. So auto is self, phagy is eating. So this is literally like your cells are self-eating. And it takes place in every single one of those 37 trillion cells that you have in your body. So I kind of like to think of it as your refrigerator, as if we want to talk about a little analogy. You go to the grocery store, you buy new food. Every food has an expiration date. You continue to eat and shop, and then eventually your refrigerator gets full, and certain foods that have been in there for a long time and have hit that expiration date or have gone over their expiration date begin to rot and stink. And that's pretty much what's happening inside your cells. So inside your cells, you have all these organelles that are just pictured on this slide, and they all have expiration dates too. And when they hit that expiration date, your body then ensures that the old ones are removed and they're replaced with new ones so that there's no residual damage that takes place. So it's really autophagy is your body's cleanup crew that really helps to expel and get rid of waste and toxic buildup. That comes from two ways. So you've got the normal cellular buildup just through your regular metabolic processes. So things, again, like I mentioned before, like living and breathing creates waste that needs to be removed. But then there's also those external factors that lead to this and lead to the damaged cells. And so those are things like toxins and chemicals, things from our, all the cosmetics, the potions, the lotions that we've been trying to reverse aging, even processed foods or lack of sleep, chronic stress. These all lead to toxic buildup in our cells. So I kind of like to think of it as little Pac-Man inside of each of our cells. And there's been an amazing amount of research. This isn't something that we just found on the web. I mean, there's been 2 Nobel Prize winners just based on their research with autophagy. And one thing that you have to remember is that our cells work so hard to create and maintain what we call homeostasis, and that's really balance and order. And so they can't do that when we're creating all this toxicity inside them.
It's just like if you never took the garbage out of your house.
Yeah. Oh, gross.
We know that wouldn't be a good thing. So you can't go in and throw everything away, but you got to get rid of the waste products, and that's what autophagy is really all about. And just on the note of detoxification, I know I mentioned it in the beginning, but for those of you that are interested in learning how to detoxify your body, or maybe you want some recipes for things that you can eat or drink in order to help detoxify on a cellular level, stick around to the end, because we are gonna put up a link at the very end to the detox recipe guide. And it's something that Cece, you and my wife, Dr. Erin, worked on for several hours last year. And it's a beautiful ebook, and it's something that you can have on your phone. It's digital, so you can take it anywhere, but it's full of recipes that are really, really helpful for detoxification. And they're also delicious. I mean, it's not like tree bark and wheatgrass all day long, every day. It's actually stuff that you're going to enjoy eating and drinking. So stick around for that. So these are just some of the additional benefits of autophagy. So again, autophagy is kind of like taking the trash out, but I mean, everything from supports healthy aging, supports weight loss, metabolism, energy. Autophagy fights inflammation, promotes smoother, healthier skin, cancer reduction, improves brain health. So, a lot of people that have Parkinson's or Alzheimer's, the autophagy process in their brain. And that's actually what they've started to find, is that there's this biotoxic accumulation of metabolic waste products in people's brain stems or in people's gray matter in their brain. And so that's a lot of times what leads to things like dementia or Alzheimer's. So this goes way beyond just having better looking skin and better looking hair and nails. Antibacterial or antiviral, antibacterial. Again, it protects against mental disease or neurodegenerative disease. So obviously, autophagy is a great thing. We want to do whatever we can to make sure that that process is functioning at 100% like it's supposed to. And this is how we're going to do this. So I know that you're curious about how to make all this stuff happen. There's really 3 areas that we're going to focus on. This is the quote unquote magic formula. And it's not magic in the sense that it's new, trendy, or just a fad that's going to come and go. These are principles that have been tested by time, literally thousands of years. They've always been true. They're always going to be true. It's the differences in the doing. So a lot of this stuff people probably already know, but if you know and you don't do, you don't actually know. So today is all about, giving you action steps or reminding you about things that you may have known at one point, but may not be doing currently. So food, nutrition, intermittent fasting, and exercise.
Yep, absolutely. So one of the greatest discoveries in the last quarter century is that the foods we eat heavily influence oxidative stress, inflammation, and autophagy. So every time you're eating, you're making a vote, right, for your health. And that's what we do. We eat all the time. So we're actually going to talk about the meal timing as well here in just a few minutes. So this food pyramid here, this is exactly what you can follow to help reduce oxidative stress and inflammation and help to activate autophagy. And these are the principles from the people that live in those blue zones that Dr. Ryan was referring to in the beginning. I just want you to remember these people living in the blue zones, they live to reach in their 90s and even well past into their 100s, and they have relatively little age-related disease. So keto, I'm going to talk about keto, and healthy keto, it's going to activate autophagy. And when I say healthy, I'm not talking about just focusing on tons of bacon and cheese and butter and more cheese. I see so many people out there that just eat cheese all the time. So healthy keto, it's a lower dirty keto, exactly. So it's a lower carb, high fat way of eating. It's really, the focus is to restrict glucose. So instead of relying on sugar for energy, you're relying on fat as your primary fuel source. And this fat comes from eating things like nuts and seeds and olives and avocados and wild fish and grass-fed beef and pasture-raised poultry and eggs. All these foods that the people living in the blue zones eat. So what we're trying to do is deprive our body of glucose from our food. And what it does is it creates its own process called gluconeogenesis. And then it turns before turning into stored fat to keep your metabolic functions happening. You're really focused on burning through the stored fat. And we produce these things called ketones. And there's been all these studies done on animals with the ketogenic diet and their relationship to autophagy. And one of those things that we found is that those ketone bodies really are what helps to stimulate autophagy. And also a ketogenic diet, they did a study on rats, and they showed that the ketogenic diet helped to upregulate autophagy in the brain. So when you think about that brain fog that you may be dealing with, it's really nice to know that the autophagy is going to help you with that. They also focused on foods that are really rich in antioxidants. So remember everything I talked about antioxidants just a few minutes ago and how those levels start to decline at the age of 30. So flavonoids and polyphenols are these various compounds, these antioxidants that the blue zone people are focused on eating, and they're found in fruits and vegetables. So these rich antioxidants, this is what really helps your body to ward off your everyday toxins. So including more of these in your diet is really going to be beneficial to helping you stay healthy and reduce aging. So some of those foods to focus on that you can see in this pyramid here are things like red wine, coffee, green tea. They did a study with mice and found that the coffee-fueled mice saw an increase in autophagy in pretty much every major organ in their system.
That's
coffee,
good news.
It is. We all drink coffee, right? Coffee has those polyphenols in it that really help to reduce oxidative stress. And then red wine, I think people are going to be really excited to hear this one. So red wine is full of polyphenols, and there's 2 compounds that are really important. So there's resveratrol and there's quercetin. And what these do, well, I should say, let me back up. The way you want to approach red wine, you have to think about it. It's not just like going and getting a box of wine and drinking it all one night. So what the people and these individuals living in the blue zones do is that they drink this wine at mealtime. Really helps to decrease your blood glucose levels. They pick specific types of wine, so wines low in sugar, things like French and Brazilian red wines are really good choices. And then they don't drink a lot. So, women drink about 3 ounces per day, and men it's about 6 ounces per day. And then green tea, it's amazing. So many of the different areas, like in Japan, the Okinawans, did I say that correctly?
Okinawans, yeah.
Okinawans. They drink tons of green tea, like all day long. They're drinking green tea, and that's just another powerful antioxidant that really helps to support autophagy as well. What's missing from this food pyramid? So it's your processed foods, it's your processed sugars, it's your processed dairy, and a lot of those damaging vegetable oils. So really diving in on what you're eating on a daily basis has incredible benefits to reducing oxidative stress, inflammation, and inducing autophagy.
Yeah, it's pretty simple. I mean, if you eat food that you can find in nature, you're going to be a lot better off. If most of your food comes in a box or through a window, then obviously you're not going to be as healthy. So it's step one is just eat food by God, not food by man, and just eat stuff that you can find in nature. But then I know there's a lot to say for when you eat too, and we're going to talk about nutrient timing in just a minute. But I just wanted to highlight a couple more patients who are just awesome people who've seen awesome results. This is Andrea and Anthony, and they've been patients for several months now. And they started applying these principles just like you can. And they started seeing results, little by little by little. And just after a handful of months, combined, they've lost 60 pounds. Andrea has no more sciatic pain. Anthony has no more neck pain or headaches. They both feel much, much younger than they did even just a few years ago. And it's just by applying these principles, staying consistent, putting one foot in front of the other and trying to win day to day. You don't have to win your entire life today or tomorrow. Just win one step at a time. We're going to talk about how to actually do that here in just a minute. So let's talk about intermittent fasting for just a minute, and we're going to try to wrap up here in the next few minutes. But just intermittent fasting, this is not. It seems like it's a new concept because it's got a lot of traction in the health and wellness space currently or recently. But really, it's an ancient technique. It's an ancient thing. It's an ancient concept. It's something that people have been doing for thousands of years, because in hundreds or thousands of years ago, people did walk around with power bars and packaged snacks, and they didn't have refrigeration, so they couldn't just go to the fridge every 2 or 3 hours and grab something to eat. It was feast or famine. You ate what you killed, and sometimes you didn't kill anything for a long time, or you ate what you found. A lot of times you wouldn't find anything for quite a while. And so what intermittent fasting really does is it gives your digestive system a break. So Cece, maybe you can talk just for a couple of minutes on some of the science behind intermittent fasting, and then maybe more importantly, how to actually do it, because I know there's several different ways that you can start doing this in your lifestyle.
Yep. So fasting, it's one of the simplest ways to trigger autophagy. So what you're doing is you're inducing autophagy by providing that extended period of time so that your cells can do the important work that they were designed to do, like repairing and renewing themselves. So there have been a lot of studies again on intermittent fasting and autophagy. They did some studies on rodents again, and they found that fasting is especially good for your brain cells. It was quoted as saying short-term fasting induces profound neuronal autophagy. So again, that might be why so many people experience increased mental clarity when they fast. As far as how long to fast in order to induce and activate your autophagy, you have to remember it does take about 12 to 16 hours for your body to burn through your glucose stores in your liver and in your muscles. So my best recommendation is to aim for at least a 14-hour fast to trigger autophagy and to experience those health-related benefits. So the best way, and what I recommend and what I practice myself and tell so many of our patients to practice, is the 16-8 approach. So you're fasting for 16 hours, And then you have an 8-hour eating window, and you do that within a 24-hour cycle. And it might be a struggle at first, but once you get going, it's something that becomes really easy and just second nature to you.
Yeah, and a lot of people think they're going to be tired when they start doing that, and you will be in the beginning because your body's used to being fed or fueled up every so often. But again, what fasting really does is it forces your body to start becoming more efficient at burning the fat stores that you have laying around your body, and that's what we all want to get rid of anyway. It's and burning fat or burning ketones is more efficient. It's a cleaner fuel. There's less inflammation. So if you can become metabolically flexible, which really is what that's about. So your body's not so dependent on sugar all the time. There's just a ton of health benefits that go along with it. I mean, rapid weight loss, better energy, better sleep, better hormone balance, better mood or less moody, however you want to look at that. But it's one of those things that you just have to start doing it, and it's going to be uncomfortable for the first little while. But like anything in life, if it's not uncomfortable, it's probably not making a difference. If it doesn't challenge you, it doesn't change you. And that's a great segue into exercise, because exercise, it's one of those things where we all know that exercise is important, but if we're not doing it consistently, it's not beneficial. And if it doesn't challenge you, it's not changing you. One thing that they found in common with all these blue zone cultures is that the average person, even at 100 years old in these cultures, the average person was still walking 5 to 6 miles a day. The average person was still doing their own gardening, cutting their own grass, doing all their home maintenance. And a lot of times they're doing it all by hand instead of having machines, partly because they just don't have the access to the technology and the equipment that we might in America, but also just because it's a way of life, for these people, it's a way of life just to stay active, to use their body. And that's the thing. We know that it's use it or lose it. We've all heard that in the gym, but your body's the same way. The number one reason why people go to the hospital after age 65 is because of a slip, trip, or a fall, and they end up breaking something like a hip or a shoulder or a wrist. And typically it's very, very downhill, very, very rapidly from that point on. And so, having a healthy body is not just about metabolism and weight loss and energy and muscles. It's about, being able to preserve the materials of your body to be able to live life, for balance and strength and coordination. So there's a lot of different ways that you can do exercise. We don't have to get too much into this today. There's high intensity interval training, there's resistance exercise. I would highly recommend doing a combination of everything, because you want to be fit for life. You don't just want to be fit to run a mile. You don't just want to be fit to do bench press. You don't just want to be fit to do bicep curls. You want to be fit to do anything that you want to do in life. And so the way that you become, functionally fit to live life is to do a lot of different things with your fitness. That's why I'm constantly varying the type of stuff that I do. I mean, if you follow me on social media, one day I'll go run a bunch of miles. The next day I'll lift a bunch of heavy weights. The next day I'll be doing a bunch of both, So the idea is just to get your body moving and get your body moving consistently. And the people that do that, statistically speaking, live a lot healthier, happy lives. So Cece, let's talk real quick about how people can actually make this work, because I know a lot of people are thinking, that's great for the Okinawans in Japan, or the Sardinians in Italy, or the Seventh-day Adventists in Loma Linda, California, which is another blue zone. But how can I make that work in Coeur d'Alene, Idaho? How can I make that work in Orlando, Florida, or wherever you might be listening from? And how can I do it so that I'm not totally rearranging my entire life? Because that's the biggest thing that I hear from people is, well, yeah, I would totally do all that, but it's going to cost way too much money, or it's going to take way too much time to do all this stuff. How can we start to implement these things and not have it take over our entire lives?
Yeah, so you have to plan. And that's going to take a little time in the beginning, but once you do it and you just stick to it, you're going to be successful. And a lot of times what happens is that people just wing it, and then they get frustrated, they throw in the towel, and then they feel like defeated and feel like they have to start all over and start from scratch. So take the time and energy to develop a plan. You can make a war plan. So this is just looking at your schedule for the week and for the month, identifying those non-negotiables. This is something that Dr. Ryan's been teaching for years here to our patients. But identify your non-negotiables like work, kid functions, things that you have to do. And then plug in those times where you can really devote to your health. So things such as working out, devoting time to meal planning and to grocery shop, and then you just have to follow it. It's also important to really just identify your obstacles. Are there certain hangups, things that just like stop you in your tracks when it comes to eating healthy, getting in those antioxidants, doing the exercising, doing the fasting? So look at those lifestyle habits that can really create triggers and just kind of throw you off.
Yeah, the planning really is huge. We're going to talk about meal planning.
Thing would be too.
The planning is huge.
Yeah.
You know, one of my favorite quotes is Abraham Lincoln. Lincoln said, if you gave me an hour to cut down a tree, I'd spend the first 50 minutes sharpening the axe. So when you plan for your life, you know, you're really setting the intention, you're setting the thermostat, if you will, of your life. And just like in your house, if you don't set the thermostat, the inside turns out or becomes whatever the outside temperature is. And so you have to have a plan for your life. You know, Dave Ramsey says you have to give every dollar a job before you earn it. And I believe the same is true with every minute. You know, with every minute or hour that God gives us, we have to have a plan for that time. Otherwise, we end up being on defense instead of offense, which is not, you know, a winning lifestyle or a winning attitude. So when it comes to meal planning, I mean, the same is true. Like, you have to have intention. You have to plan out your meals. You can't wait until you're stressed and hungry at the end of the day. Otherwise, we all know that you're just going to make bad decisions. So a couple of key concepts here, you know, keep it simple, plan ahead for things that you're going to go do with friends and family. Like even Erin and I, when we go on date night, if we want to go somewhere fun that doesn't necessarily have, you know, the healthiest options, we'll intentionally have like a small salad or drink like a green smoothie or something before we go out. Or if we're going to go to a function like a wedding or a birthday, and we just know that there's not going to be fantastic healthy options, we at least make sure that we eat a little something healthy before we go, so that two things: number one, we at least got something healthy in our system. Number two, we're not quite as hungry when we show up, so you're not going to be nearly as tempted. That doesn't mean you can't go and partake. You know, you don't want to be rude, but at the same time, you don't want to go there and, you know, gorge yourself on all the stuff that you're going to regret later on. So make a plan, you know, stick to the plan. Keep it simple, you know, make meals with similar ingredients so that you're not running to the health food store every other day. And I love this one that you put in here, Cece, meal prep by batching, you know, so cook a bunch of something all at once that you can then use multiple times later on through the week. So anything you want to add to that?
Leftovers are amazing. Cook once,
great, yeah.
twice. It's really going to help save you a lot of time. And just think of meal planning. It's saving you time, it's saving you energy, it's saving you stress, and it's saving you money in your wallet.
Yeah, and I love something that you say all the time, which is every time you eat, you're casting a vote for your future. You know, so that's why food is so important, because with exercise, you may only exercise 3 or 4 days a week. You know, with fasting, you may only do it a couple times a week. With some of these other things, you may only do once or twice a week, or maybe once a day at the most. With eating, I mean, you're doing that multiple times a day, every day. You have the most amount of opportunities to cast a vote for your future self with food and nutrition. So that's why it's so important to take that seriously and also have intention. Yep,
absolutely.
So why do you want to talk about winning your morning? Why is winning your morning so important?
Oh my goodness. Do you ever like wake up and you have like a bad morning and it just sets the intention for the rest of the day? Everything else just falls apart as well. So
yes, I do.
Wake up just like this gal in the picture. Wake up excited about life, excited about winning your day. Take a few minutes just to get in that right mindset before you really get started. And for you, it's different for everyone. So it could be reading and saying affirmations to yourself. It could be meditating. It could be reading the Bible, listening to music. Just really get into that good, healthy mindset. Start with a glass of water. Your body is dehydrated when you wake up. You haven't been drinking throughout the night while you're sleeping. You've got all these processes happening. You just need to wake up and have a glass of water. Intermittent fasting, you guys, this takes no time at all and no additional effort, because first of all, you're going to be fasting while you're sleeping. And then if you can just extend that a little bit into the morning, it'll be incredibly beneficial for you. And then truly just follow your plan. If you have your plan, you know what you need to do for the day, just stick to it, and you're going to feel like you've really accomplished something by the end of the day.
Yeah, I love this concept. You know, in the military, they have this concept where the first thing that you do before you do anything else when you wake up in the morning is you turn around and you make your bed.
I do that. I try to do that every day.
And you make your bed really, really well. And, I learned from someone who was in the military, like why that was so important, why they're so strict on how it's made and the corners and the edges and how everything's tucked in and everything else. And he said, it's simply because, number one, it's something simple that you can do. Anybody can do it. It doesn't take a whole lot of time, and it starts your day off with a feeling of accomplishment. That's number one. Number two, even if you have the worst day imaginable, you get to come home to something that was done well. And so you get to bookend your day with something that's positive, and so winning your morning is very similar. If you can win your morning, maybe that's your takeaway from the webinar today. All you need to focus on is winning the first 5 to 10 minutes of your morning. And my guess is, just based on experience, that if you can win your morning, you're going to be a lot more likely to win your day. And if you can win enough days, you obviously win your health and you win your life. All right. Do you want to talk about testing for a minute? Why is testing so key?
I do. So testing is key. You've already pointed out the obvious. So, you want to test and not guess, and you can't manage what you can't measure. So testing is incredibly beneficial when it comes to your health and really identifying what's going on inside your body. Why are you feeling specific symptoms? And then developing a plan to address those and to reach optimal wellness.
Well, what can happen to people when they don't test? I mean, I think that's, I think for a lot of people, they might think, testing, that sounds great. Like, I think I would like to do that at some point, but what happens when you don't test? Or what are some of the pitfalls that people can experience if they don't test?
You don't really know what's working for your body. And it's like you're just kind of throwing darts and you're hoping something is going to stick. So you may have invested all this money in supplements because you heard that, vitamin B is good for this thing, or I need to take my ginkgo for my mental awareness. And then you're just investing all this time and money and you don't really know if it's what your body needs or if it's helping. So I just love the fact that you can really get a good glimpse and then identify where you have deficiencies and bring your body into balance. So I really recommend the test that we're sharing and offering today, the organic acids test. What it does is it takes a deep dive into how your body is functioning at a cellular level. So just like your car gives you warning signals and like different sounds to potential problems, your body has certain indicators and chemical indicators inside of it, which are organic acids that can really alert you to these potential problems that you're having. So these early warning signs really can help you to make the right decisions for your diet, what you're eating, and your lifestyle, so that you can both enhance and extend your quality of life, because that's what we all want, right? So organic acid testing, it's knowing how your body, or knowing whether your body is getting and using specific nutrients for optimal health. And there are some key indicators that we really test with this. So there's 47 or 46 different nutrient markers. And as we mentioned, we're looking at inflammation, oxidative stress, toxicity, vitamin, nutrient deficiencies. We're looking at how your body's able to detoxify. We're even looking at how are you currently utilizing and breaking down your fats, your carbs, and your proteins. So there's so much that we can learn from it. And this is a urine test. And the reason why I love it so much is because urine contains about 100 times more of these organic acid and abnormalities that we find than in our blood. So you can have a more accurate test than what some of the blood samples are doing.
Yeah, just like in our chiropractic clinic, I'm a big fan of taking x-rays on patients so I can see exactly what the problem is, and then I know how to fix it. And that's the same thing with your nutrition. If you can do a test like this, it's kind of like taking an x-ray of your nutrition. So that way you can see underlying factors and you can more specifically and accurately and efficiently, fix those issues. This is actually a patient who lived a really, really healthy lifestyle. They were doing all the right things. And yet they had a bunch of symptoms. Their hair was falling out. It was turning gray. They had chronic fatigue. They were getting sick all the time. So they went to their medical doctor. They ran a complete blood panel like they normally do. And the blood panel came back totally normal. In fact, the doctor even wrote on it, says, looks good. and sent her home and said, there's nothing I can do. Like, your blood work looks fine. Your body is normal. And she's like, well, why do I have all these symptoms? And he's like, I don't know. Well, obviously there's something going on. So we did a deeper dive, and we did this Nova test on her. And even though most of it looked really, really good, because again, she lived really healthy lifestyle, she takes really high quality supplements, she's doing all the right things, there were a couple of things that really stuck out that we identified as the root cause of her problem. Basically her oxidative stress levels were really, really high, and her body was not able to keep up with the excess free radicals that were creating damage on a cellular level. And so just by identifying that, we were able to put together a customized nutrition and supplement protocol. And 90 days later, after going through this protocol, she's totally healthy. And that doesn't mean she has to stay on the supplements for the rest of her life and eat that way necessarily for the rest of her life. It gave her body a chance to heal and to recover. And now, she's learned about herself so that she can make wise decisions for her health, moving forward. And in my opinion, this type of thing actually saves you money in the long run. So we're actually doing a special today. And the test is normally $397. These are all the things that the Organics test looks for. But for the first 10, we have 10. So for the first 10 people that take advantage of this, you're going to get this test for $317. And that might sound like a lot of money to you, but to be honest, how much would it be worth to find out what was causing your issue? If you were having trouble losing weight, or you had chronic pain, or you had chronic fatigue, or hormone imbalances, or autoimmune issues, or digestive problems, how much would it be worth to know whether or not it was something nutritionally, if it was toxicity, or if it was oxidative stress or inflammation, or maybe your body is not absorbing and assimilating the nutrients that you're trying so hard to eat every day, or take through a supplement. And in my opinion, it's totally worth it, because it's not just about knowing what's wrong, but it's about knowing what to do about it. And that's the thing with a blood test at the doctor's office. Even if they're able to identify something that's wrong, the solution at that point is typically pharmaceuticals. So your blood work's off, take this drug. The scan is off, take this drug, or have this procedure, or have this surgery. It really isn't fixing or identifying the underlying cause of the problem. So once again, just as we wrap this up, if you're interested in taking advantage of this test, again, it's a test that you can do at home. So all you got to do, there should be a little button or a little word on the side of the webinar that says offers. You just click on that, and it says purchase now. You're not actually purchasing it now. It's just going to take you to a separate landing page so you can learn more about the test. And that's where you'll actually purchase the test. And the test isn't, what you're buying is not just the test. You're also buying a 15-minute discovery consultation with Cece, so that she can ask you about your health goals, what's going on with you, what are your biggest challenges. She's also going to take that time to educate you on how to actually do the test, and then how to mail it into the lab, Genova Lab. It's not our office, it's a lab in Atlanta, Georgia. And she's going to spend about 30 minutes to an hour with you after the test results come back, after she's had an opportunity to analyze the test. And typically we collaborate on these things together. So if it's a really funky situation, or if someone has a lot of stuff going on, her and I will sit down together and discuss what's wrong and what the best solution or the best course of action is. So you're really paying for our time and our interpretation, not just the test results, because honestly, you could get that done just about anywhere. And then at that point, we'll give you recommendations. We'll show you how you can fix the things that are wrong on your test results, and it's pretty straightforward. Then it's just a matter of you taking action and taking ownership from that point on. So what you're going to do is you're going to click the offer. It's going to take you to a landing page. It looks like this. You're going to pick a time so that you can get on the phone, or if you want to meet in person, if you live local, that's fine too. You're going to meet with Cece so she can show you how to do everything, ask you some questions about your health goals. It'll take you to another page where you'll actually purchase your test. And then that's it. Then we'll get an email that notifies us that you bought the test and that you want to have a consultation call. Cece will reach out to you and help you through the process. And then it's just discovering what's wrong, or checking to see if there is anything wrong, that's the value. So anything you want to add to that, Cece, before we wrap up?
No, I just really want to encourage people, your health is in your hands. And again, every action you take, whether it's what you choose to eat, different ways you live your life, has a dramatic effect on your body's ability to either reverse aging or just accelerate aging. And so I just thank you for letting me join in today and sharing with all of you, and look forward to working with some of you.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for being on, Cece. And again,
Yep.
you know, we're not saying that you have to do this test to be healthy. This is just a way to become more efficient with your lifestyle. And like we keep saying, you can't manage what you don't measure. So whether you end up doing the testing, we talk to you in the future about it. That's great. If not, I know you got a lot of actionable information that you could take home and start applying right now. And either way, one way or another, we just love and appreciate you guys. And we pray that you would win your health and win your life. We'll see you next time.